It's John and Mike Brady, and let's get Mandy on the phone, shall we?
Yep. Hey, today we're so honored to have Mandy Mahoney on from Atlanta, Georgia. Mandy's resume is amazing. She's not only the Director of Sustainability for the City of Atlanta, she's a lawyer. She's the Secretary for the League of Women Voters of Georgia, and on and on and on and on and on. It would take me 20 minutes to talk all about Mandy, but I want her to do the talking today. Mandy Mahoney, welcome to Green is Good.
Thank you.
Hey, Mandy, Mike and I always set up our shows a little bit, and I got to tell you, we're scratching our heads a little bit here. When we started the show about a year ago, we never would have guessed to have already 3 guests on from Atlanta. We had Chuck on and Ovi on, and you're our third wonderful guest. What's this with Atlanta being such a leader in the green revolution? What's going on?
Yeah, we're really proud of that. I think it's because Atlanta has always been an entrepreneurial, forward-thinking city, and we've done that on civil rights, and we're continuing to do that on the critical topic of our current era, which is sustainability.
How long have you been the Director of Sustainability down there in the city of Atlanta?
I've been in this position for between 2 and 3 years.
Okay, and you work with the mayor?
I do.
And the city council?
Yep.
And so tell me how that's going. Was the mayor green before she became a mayor, or did she run on a green platform, or how did that go?
So we are in the middle of an administration change right now. So our mayor is Shirley Franklin.
Okay.
And she's in her final days of her second term of office.
Okay.
And Mayor Franklin is green through and through. She was green before she came into office, but she will tell you that she has definitely increased her support of green issues as she's been in office. And she has undertaken some really major initiatives from energy efficiency to clean water to parks and green space. So we're really proud of everything going on down here.
Okay, so we're going to want to hear about those. But who's your new mayor coming in?
We have Mayor-elect Kasim Reed.
Okay.
He's formerly a state senator, and he was the only candidate who actually had climate change in his platform for office.
So in other words, you just told our listeners that he got elected because he was green.
Yeah, that was a big thing. He was very astute on those issues.
Okay, but the good thing is you're the transitional, you're the glue. Mayor Franklin's passing the baton to Mayor Reed, but you're the glue, so you're going to make sure what she started is going to get done.
That is our goal, and working to ensure that the new mayor, whatever his focus is, that we also are champions of that.
So great. So let's talk about what was started. What are the top 2 or 3 or 4 initiatives of sustainability going on in the city of Atlanta right now?
So first and foremost, it's energy efficiency and climate change. Energy efficiency is definitely the hottest issue going around the whole country right now, but it's extremely important in the Southeast because we are growing so quickly and because it's not an issue that we've really paid much attention to. Energy prices are really low in the South, but we're seeing that energy prices are rising like 8 to 10% a year. So people, especially in these hard economic times, are starting to feel that in their pocketbooks. And so we're trying to provide them opportunities to save money and cut their energy use concurrently.
And is that working? Or is the program working?
Yeah, we're really excited about it. We're doing it here within city government. So at City Hall, we reduced our energy use 20%, saving over $130,000 a year in taxpayer dollars. And that was through zero, no-cost initiatives. And so we're helping people, promoting on our website what individuals can do like that in their own homes. And we're rolling out a program to actually provide incentives for homeowners and businesses to be able to make their businesses and homes more energy efficient.
So you're leading by example by making government go first and then asking the consumers to come along.
Exactly. So
what's next on the list? So you got energy efficiency and climate change. What's next on your sustainability checklist in Atlanta?
Sure. Water is a major issue in Atlanta. We have been in a water war with Florida and Alabama for the last 8 to 10 years. And you think about the South and you think, it's not a desert down there. Why are they having a water war? But Atlanta actually sits on the smallest body of, we're the headwaters of a couple major rivers. But because we're at the headwaters, not a lot of water flows through Atlanta. And so we're in a really tough position. And so we have, under Mayor Franklin, she has been working to fix the leaky pipes and repair a lot of different infrastructure so that we can stop losing clean water and we can be more efficient and thereby deliver the water in a more efficient manner to the citizens.
And is that kind of initiative one that you're showing great improvement on, or is that okay? So so how do you know things are going well on that? Like, explain what the metrics are. There's what's measurable is manageable. How's that working?
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, like any utility, they measure the amount of water that comes in the system and the amount of water that goes out of the system. They also have tools and devices in the different pipes around the city so they can figure out what the water flows are. The city is actually investing $4 billion into our water infrastructure. We were under a federal consent decree, which means the federal judge said, Atlanta, you are bad. You are violating all these federal laws against water quality and water quantity. You must do things. So the mayor, before Mayor Franklin, actually was just paying the fine. But Mayor Franklin said, no, we've got to fix this. We are a major city. We cannot have a crumbling infrastructure around our water. And so the feds actually mandated milestones that we had to reach, and we are very proud to say that we are ahead of those and that we have met all of the milestones that were imposed on us.
That's amazing. Good for you. So beyond water now, what's your next initiative that Atlanta's working on?
So recycling, which is major for any place, is major for us as well. The Southeast and places like the Midwest, there's not as much density, so it's been cheap over time to just throw things in the landfill. But that's changing, and society wants to recycle. So we've been recycling in Atlanta for a very long time, and just in the last 30 days, we have rolled out an incentivized recycling program, which is cool because we're doing it as a pilot. So 10,000 homes in the city, which is about 10% of the single-family homes in the city, they were given large recycling bins, so the size that your average trash can would be.
Okay.
And it's got a sensor in it. It's an RFID chip. And so the garbage trucks, these recycling trucks, not the garbage trucks, the recycling trucks will go out and weigh those as they put the recycling in the recycling trucks. And the homeowner gets points for how much they're recycling.
And who is this being done with?
We're doing this with Recycling Bank. And
they've been on, Ron Gonen's been on our show.
Perfect. And so we're really excited to have that here in Atlanta.
That is wonderful. And who's so gotcha. And what's the goal? If that works, then you're going to spread
We're going to roll it out citywide.
The average person in America produces 4.3 pounds of waste a day. 54% of our weight in the United States goes to a landfill. 33% or so is recycled, and 13 or 14% is incinerated. What are your recycling rates? If the national recycling rate's 33 or 34%, what are your recycling rates today in Atlanta? And with now Recycle Bank coming on board, what is your goal to get your recycling rates to?
So for single-family homes, our recycling is under the average. We're probably closer to 20%.
Okay.
And so we're hoping to actually get it up well above the national average. And Recycle Bank shows that they get that done in the other communities they've worked in.
So you've outsourced this to an expert group like Recycle Bank.
Right.
And they've already had success, and we've had Ron on, and Ron was a tremendous guest and a great inspiration. So you've had, we know that he's brought success to every community he's gone to. So you've outsourced it, and hopefully he will do the same thing in your community that he's done in others.
Exactly.
Got it. So what other initiatives with recycling do you have ongoing?
So there is a very cool initiative called the Zero Waste Zone that is done by a local group. It's actually not out of city government, but we're supporting them. And it's called the Green Food Service Alliance, and they're working with hotel and restaurant zones in downtown Atlanta, to try to get them to actually produce zero waste. So to compost their food, to ensure that everything's recycled, and to eliminate disposable products where they can. And so they've got like major hotels and major restaurants that are signed up for that, and it's attracting national acclaim. People are starting to replicate that model around the country. So
Perfect.
We're hopeful that we'll get it in all of our communities here in Atlanta and really move forward on eliminating what we put in the landfill.
Mandy, that's amazing. We're going to take a break to our commercial sponsors, and we're going to come on back with Mandy Mahoney to Green is Good.
If a little green is good, more is even better. Now, back to Green is Good with John Shigarian and Mike Brady.
Welcome back to Green is Good. We're so excited. We have Mandy Mahoney on today from Atlanta. She's the Director of Sustainability for the City of Atlanta. Mandy, now wait a second. The Green Revolution's underway. How many other cities across America have directors of sustainability? Is this a new position?
Well, it is a relatively new position, but it is exploding. There are at least 100 people in a similar position to mine across the country. So all of your major cities have them, and many of your second-tier cities, your smaller communities, are beginning to have the positions as well.
And do you now already have an organization where you trade best practices and best information together?
We do. The Urban Sustainability Directors Network is that organization, and we met for the very first time this fall, and we're very fortunate that several of the major foundations are underwriting this initiative because they see and we see that it's critical for us to share best practices so that we are not all reinventing the wheel. We're able to learn from California cities and up east so that we can leapfrog and not have to go through the same mistakes that they did.
You know, on a personal note, when you were getting your law degree, did you ever dream you'd be doing this? I mean, what was your real dream? Did you want to be in a courtroom convincing juries of a certain opinion or case? Or is this something that you always thought you were going to grow up and change the world and the law was just a platform for you to do it with?
I really saw law as a platform. I did my master's in environmental management concurrently through the Nicholas School of Environment at Duke University. And so for me, the master's was actually the more dominant degree because it provided me the opportunity to learn about policy and program. And there were a lot of outside the classroom learning opportunities that I got at Duke that were terrific and led me to this position today.
We're in California, of course, but Mike and I get to interview all these neat people from across the nation. We know we have one of the greenest governors here, and he was one of the first to really tip his hat green, Governor Schwarzenegger.
Right.
And then some of the other great mayors, from Mayor Villagrosa to Mayor Bloomberg, have shown that it doesn't matter if you're independent, Republican, Democrat, green politics is good politics. So what does this whole revolution mean in terms of what's happening across America? And what is sustainability going to really mean in terms of the political landscape in Atlanta? Why is Atlanta so green? Why did Chuck and Ovi and everyone there is so green compared to some other cities that Mike and I thought were going to be making big presence on our show? Haven't even shown up yet. How did Atlanta really turn the tide before others did?
I think it's because people have found it to be fun. One of the cool things here is that there's so many local farmers that are close by Atlanta that are sustainable. Farm to table is a huge thing that's taken off here in Atlanta. I think that we have one of the strongest local organic food movements in the whole country. And again, because people found it to be enjoyable. I think that sustainability, if you're going to look at it as a chore or if something you have to do, it's not going to last. But where you see it's a business opportunity or a way to just have a better, healthier life, you're going to go there. And Atlanta has that spirit. It's a very adventurous, entrepreneurial town. And so, and progressive. People are very forward-thinking here. So sustainability has just been natural. And we've been blessed that the corporations like Coca-Cola and Home Depot and the UPS company, those have been extremely progressive companies, and they are all headquartered here.
Well, I'm going to bring up another one, CNN and Mr. Turner. Yes. You know, Ovi, when he was on our show, we asked him, Ovi, why'd you go green? I mean, you're an NFL. You're our first NFL player on the show. And he actually told us straight up, Ted Turner's daughter saw him at a party, said, what are you doing? He said, I'm doing nothing to be green. And she called him out and educated him and turned him all around. And now he's on fire for the whole sustainability movement. So I think even CNN and the Turner influence have had something to do with it, huh?
I agree. The Turner, the family, as well as the Turner Foundation are wonderful in terms of spearheading new initiatives and seeing opportunities that will make a big difference. And they actually are very supportive of the city, and the Turner Foundation helps underwrite the recycling manager here and supports an initiative called Atlanta Recycles. So they definitely put their money where their beliefs are.
We talked about Ovi's inspiration, and we asked this to all our guests. So before we go back to Atlanta and all the great initiatives that you're doing there, who was your inspiration?
I think that my main inspiration was my dad.
Okay.
Growing up, I was the tomboy. He didn't have any sons, but he took me hunting and fishing with him, and I was out in the garden helping him, and he just lived it. And our family comes from a very strong Catholic background, and stewardship of the earth and social justice was always something that we talked a lot about. And so it was part of my DNA from the beginning.
Well, it's funny you talk about stewardship and your Catholic upbringing. You know, Mike and I never thought of it that way in terms of the environment and faith. But one of our recent guests was Reverend Sally Bingham.
Oh, wonderful.
So she definitely gave us a tremendous inspirational education to the direct relationship between faith and the environment. So let's go back to Atlanta. So recycling, you made a great case for how you're going to turn that around there. Give us some of your other initiatives and tell us what's in the future for the city of Atlanta in terms of the sustainability movement.
Sure. So the city just passed its first major comprehensive transportation plan. And that's scary. You say 2009 and you just passed that. Well, we're going to meet the problem where it is, not where we want it to be. And we are extremely proud that we do have a comprehensive transportation plan now. It's called Connect Atlanta. And it is viewed nationally as one of the most progressive transportation plans in the whole country. There's a major focus on bike lanes and sidewalks and figuring out how to make streets calmer so that they're more friendly to pedestrians. There's a lot of one-way streets in Atlanta, and they change names, and it's just kind of funny. The joke in Atlanta is that there are 21 Peachtree streets. And so this plan is looking at ways to knit these streets back together and make it so that they turn from being one-way streets where people fly down them to being two-way streets that make it more friendly for small businesses to open up and to create more pedestrian-friendly high-energy live-work play zones.
And excuse my ignorance, even though I've been to your beautiful city many times, is I grew up in New York City where public transportation is part of the normal way of life. Is it big in Atlanta, and is it growing, or where does that stand?
Atlanta does have public transportation. We do have a subway. It's called MARTA, and we have major commuter bus lines, but it's an area that also has a lot of opportunity to grow. Atlanta is seen as having some of the worst traffic in the nation. We're always right there with L.A., which is terrifying, and we have horrible rates of asthma because of particulate matter and air pollution from transportation.
Wow.
And so we still have a long way to go in that area.
So you have an air problem down there, too, just like we have here in California.
Yeah, we've got a terrible one.
No kidding. Didn't realize that. And is there any initiatives specifically, you just talked about 4 great initiatives: energy, water, recycling, transportation. Do you have one for air yet, or is what's in motion on the air issues?
Yeah, we see air as being highly connected to the transportation piece. There's a local nonprofit called the Clean Air Campaign that is just outstanding, and their focus is to help commuters find transportation alternatives, and they have a robust incentives program. So, for instance, if you are taking a single occupancy vehicle to work, they'll pay you $3 a day up to $180 to switch to a public transportation option. And the idea is just like going to a gym. Like, well, once you get started, you're more likely to keep going. And so it's really wonderful, and we work with them constantly, and I think they're our best champions for clean air. There's also a group called Mothers and Others for Clean Air that's focusing on the child asthma rate issues and trying to bring awareness to that.
We talked about the Urban Sustainability Directors Network in other cities that are doing things, and that you just had your first meeting. How do you do an index, or how do you measure the success that you're having, Mandy, which sounds like it's a massive success, what you're doing and your initiatives and both of the measures you've taken against the other cities that are out there, and help each other along, sharing best practices? Is there an index you have on everything sustainability?
There's different ways we do it. So it's useful that independent organizations like Sustain Lane actually rate us, and they do an annual index on a range of measures. We also have internal performance metrics. In Atlanta, it's called ATL Stat, and each department has one for whatever their area of focus is. So we have one for sustainability that's based on reaching our climate change emissions goals.
Right.
And so we're trying to reduce our carbon emissions 7% below 1990 levels by 2012. And so we report out on that on a quarterly basis. And we are proud to say that we have already reduced it 5.6%, so we're really close to that 7% goal.
Besides your annual meeting with all the other Director of Sustainabilities across America, is there a regular networking online where you guys share best practices or great ideas or new vendors that are helping to make real change?
Sure. There's actually a recently launched website that's by the Home Depot Foundation. It's called the Sustainable Cities Institute, and its sole purpose is to share best practices, not only among us, the directors, but to the community as well. And it's a really wonderful site, and anybody who's interested in this topic should definitely go to the Sustainable Cities Institute website.
.org or .com?
.org.
And you bring up a great point. I just want to make sure our listeners who want to get more of the great things that you're doing down in Atlanta, go to your great website, sustainableatlanta.com, and I'll talk about that later. Now, walk us through what are some of the innovative ideas that haven't come to pass yet, but that you have in the pipeline for making Atlanta one of the most sustainable cities on the planet.
Yes. So our goals in the future align with where we've been. And so we're trying to get to zero waste. We are trying to greatly reduce our carbon footprint. So we're looking beyond 2012 and looking at 2050. Mayor Franklin just yesterday signed on to a World Mayors Climate Protection Agreement that is in support of the Copenhagen Summit this week. And that actually pledges a 75% reduction by 2050. So we're really excited about that and really have to start thinking long-term about how to get there, which will happen as we upgrade our buildings, not only city, but also commercial and residential, to be more energy efficient. And then we need to look at ways to go to carbon neutral fuels. So we're looking at renewable energy solutions that, again, we can put on our buildings and we can help citizens put on their homes and businesses.
Well, we're down to the last minute or so. Do you have any pearls of wisdom for our listeners, whether it's what you do in the city or living in your own home, to help them become greener?
Sure. I think that for me, it helps me do my job by enjoying what I do, and I do that by experimenting in different ways of being more sustainable. So for Christmas this year, I'm asking for a worm composting bin from my husband. He thinks I'm crazy. I'm really excited about it. I also read books that are light, like Barbara Kingsolver is a great author. She wrote a book called Animal Vegetable Miracle that's just lovely about talking about how to live and eat more sustainably. So I think it's neat to be able to just do some little personal things. And as you do that, you will notice how many other changes start happening in your life.
Mandy, our time always flies by too fast. And of course, we're going to ask you to come back and give us an update next year. Mike and I just want to say thank you again for taking this time to share all the great things you're doing in Atlanta. And Mandy Mahoney, you are living proof that green is good.